Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Dance of the Soul. I'm Natasha Venter, intuitive medium personal awareness coach. I love to help people go through things. And Regan is usually here, but he's popping in, but I'm going to make sure he's here. But Regan sometimes has technical problems, and today he's on his mobile data. And guess what? He might have gotten his van. I'm looking forward to seeing that. Okay, so here comes Regan in. Hi, Regan.
Hi.
Hello, you're in your van?
Yeah, I got the phone on my steering wheel here. I'm in a Walmart parking lot in, I forget where, above San Francisco somewhere. I got the
Cool.
van fixed today, cost a fortune, but it's running. It's like a new car right now. It's running great.
Oh, yay. Congratulations. I know that my husband being he started out being a diesel mechanic, and I was always working on the cars with my dad. And so for me, cars is like second talk. That diesel mechanics or diesels that if you find their place, you find their place that they need to be fixed, then usually they're really good once you get that piece. But you may have to keep saying, oh, does that piece need to be looked at again? Type of thing. So it's one of those things that as we go forward and as we're working through things and that kind of thing. So congratulations for finally getting something that you've had navigating with you for a while.
Yeah, it's been an adventure to say the least.
Yeah.
Well, it's a spiritual thing right now because I've had so many roadblocks, with having problems from Phoenix to here. And I swear it's just like angels were following me around. I mean, I'm coming out of a 99-cent store. I'm having a problem with my car, and a guy was parked right next to me, had a van just like mine that he converted it. And we started talking. He spent about 2 hours with me going over everything, told me what to do. He's the one that referred me to this place here, who's really knows what they're doing. There's about half a dozen things like that. It's just like I go, oh shoot, and then here comes somebody or an answer to my issue or problem. So it's been a great working experience, learning how to go with the flow.
Well, we've had those conversations in our shows many times about how when people, can maneuver with that flow, that it's amazing, especially now that there's so much negativity out there, that when we go with that flow, how much we are taken care of.
Yeah.
That things just pop up when we need them. And I'm so grateful that you're feeling that way, that you're you're feeling that, that you're taken care of and that kind of thing.
It's been 5-6 days since I shaved because I've just been on a warrior, but I'm sure glad and about, having this spiritual perspective on everything, because with all the things I've gone through, boy, I could have been in a really mess, yelling and screaming. I'm having to learn to not be attached to money. Where this it turned out to be $8,000 more expensive than I thought it was going to be.
Sometimes the shortcut isn't the shortcut, is it?
No, but the man who fixed it said, well, it's still worth more than what I put into it. So, that's a good thing. So,
that is.
Yeah, I just had to just say, okay, divine source, it's going to cost this money, and boom, there it goes. But boy, it's been a pleasure to drive. So, here's a thing that might be interesting too to talk about. It seems that Patty and I are going through the same kind of evolution in our spirituality right now. Her with buying that condo and having to get it and buy all the things and replace everything, and me with the van on a monetarily smaller scale, but I'm going through the same stuff where I've got maybe 20, 30 things I have to buy, and then I've got to get them installed, and I got to figure out this and that. And it's a real learning process. I'm wondering if there's other people out there who are listening that could chime in. Have they gone through, when they've gone through like a spiritual development, have they found out that without purposely doing it, their mate is going through the same thing? In other words, you're on the same path and you're both like partners, and you're both evolving the way that you both need to. And it's wonderful for a relationship. because you really see that you're both turning into better people, you know.
Well, I can say though that as a witness of life, that you either have somebody who you're more in communion with, that you do that more in sync. But if you're not necessarily in sync with someone in communion, that many a times when you're going through, one person's going through an evolution, it triggers the next one to come into that evolution. And that's where the scenario goes, is that if this person doesn't do it, then the person that looking over that, the cliff of spirituality, that if it's too far, they get too far down, you can't see that person anymore, and that's where the separation happens.
Yeah.
And so with that for my husband and I, with his evolution and mine, that usually I get caught up to my evolution. And like if I go on a trip, if he doesn't come, if I don't come home with the intention of supporting him and his new growth, then we would separate 16 zillion times in our relationship. But since I'm patient with him, helping him, going, okay, this is who I am now. Do you recognize me still? I still love you. I'm coming down a little bit so I can grab on to help you move forward. And with that, then he comes up. It just seems like we're always kind of off a little bit because we're not totally in sync with each other.
Yeah.
We're fire and water. So we have to make good steam in order to be in sync. And a lot of times we're kind of like doing fire and water.
Yeah. I see what you mean too. It's like when we evolve or we get help, like when I started doing the shadow work, or I went to, the anger management thing in my 40s for 3 years. What I did eventually brought my whole family up, because it's like I was a different way. When I was treating them a different way, it allowed them to, come up to a higher level. I remember I told you that's the story of I went on the New Warrior. We talked about it before on the show, the New Warrior training. It's from the Mankind Project. Anybody listening, I'm always plugging them because they're amazing. They help other men to actually become men, to get to be what a real man is rather than what society has you think a man is, And and this one weekend, I changed so much that when I went home after a few weeks, when I came in the door, my wife says, honey, I need to talk to you. Come here. So she took me by the hand, had me lay beside her in bed. And she says, we got a problem since you've come home, And I said, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I thought I was being great. I'm on this cloud and I feel like I'm a better person. And I'm thinking, what the heck did I do? And she says, Regan, the kids and I think you're too sugary, and they didn't know how to deal with that, because I'd become this softer, sugary guy. And I remember laughing in relief, like, I didn't do something wrong. And I said, well, I want to have you guys find a way to get used to it, because I'm not going back to how I was before. And eventually they got used to it. And our relationship of my 5 kids and my wife and I have gotten so much better because I spent that, 3 days on that weekend doing some serious shadow work. And it was just like I had angels watching out for me that were there, that knew exactly what they needed to do to turn me around, to help me,
Well, you were on this path, my dear, that, you were always going to have help, like it or not.
I know it. I'm getting to really, well, see, and sometimes you have to get over this thing too. A lot of people feel guilty that there's, they feel like, oh, I can't do this myself and I have to have help. And they feel like selfish or something, like, oh no, I can't have a guardian angel help me here. I got to do it myself. And I found how ridiculous that is, because things are set up so that we get help from the other side once we acknowledge them, once we acknowledge that they're there. Yeah.
Exactly. So Veronica's chimed in and said that my husband and I are going through a spiritual journey, but different paths, spiritual paths. Natasha, you know what I mean, right? And I do, because I know Veronica very well. But it's that evolution. And as long as we can both breathe and do the work that we're supposed to do, that's the gift. And we have a guest here. So Regan, you're a hypnotherapist that, because we didn't do any introductions with you. So you're a hypnotherapist with the Newton Institute, and you're very much into helping people go through things. And you yourself has gone through like anger management, going from spiritual path. You've also had these experiences of dying and crossing over and then coming back. And so you've had a lot of different perspectives on how to do things. And with me, with my mediumship and intuitive and living very many past lives, that me going to those past lives quickly can manage a lot of what has happened because of the fact I've done it before, or a form of it. So it's it's an interesting path we live in these lives and in this dance and and that kind of thing. But I think that this would be, if you want to introduce yourself a little bit, and then we'll invite our guest in, because our guest is here.
Okay, good. Sure. My name is Regan, and as Natasha mentioned, I'm a hypnotherapist. I have a regular practice, but my specialty and the thing that I love doing the most is to help facilitate people going to heaven and back. I mean, it's the coolest job. And it's something that when clients experience that, they come back changed. I mean, they don't look at anything the same again, because they've got like a view behind the curtain, in a sense of and realizing that they're not alone, that their life has meaning and purpose, and that they chose their life and the people in it, to learn the experiences that they needed. So just like me, I quit bellyache, and I was, at the time I took it, I wasn't too much of a victim, type of thing. If it was only momentarily, but totally not a victim anymore, So what I do is like to help people reach that state. We've had about 65,000 people do it so far. And, we're letting the world know that everybody has this ability, like to have like a near-death experience without the death part,
Mm-hmm.
In a
which is a whole
way,
lot less stressful.
Yeah.
For the body, for the soul, for the mind, for the emotions.
It's like having a couple hours at Disneyland, just
Yep.
in awe of all of the creatures and all of the different rides and things you can do there, So anyway, that's, if anybody might visit the afterlife, they can get a hold of me there. And what about Natasha? I know you're a great medium, because I've had the
experience
pleasure of having your help. And I'm in this van right now because of Natasha. She helped me find a van that I'd been looking for months and months. And she told me, in a way, she had a sense of what part of the country to look. I got off the phone, and 10 minutes later, I found the van that I'm currently in now, having this wonderful growing experience.
Well, and too, I would say though that I saw where the van was, but this is something that I want to talk about too a little bit. And sorry about this, Corian. I'll introduce you in just a second here. That there was a piece that I forgot to mention with Regan, and it was that part of accepting that he can have it totally well fixed. He didn't have to go through the story, but there's a part of him that didn't feel honored and worthy in a way that I witnessed. No judgment here. That you had to experience, and I'm working on that too with different parts of me, where I have not felt worthy or honored to have something. And maybe that's what we can talk about, because I think Corian's has gone through life, and there's those little pieces, where those little sneaky places where we don't feel worthy or honored to have something.
Yeah.
Oh my, it comes in and it whispers to us. And it could be the difference between, like, I was just talking with someone who, she keeps getting into these little troubles all the time. These little financial troubles, you with your vans, it's like there's these little stories, me with feeling like there's been a cloud over my head, over me, where I haven't been, but now I'm coming out of that cloud, there's just this parts. But let's introduce our guest and bring her into the conversation. Yes. Welcome.
Hey, Corine.
Hi, are you hearing me? Hi.
Here I am.
Yes, we are
you hearing
hearing
me
you.
well?
Welcome, welcome.
Good, good, good.
And
Thank you so much.
yes, you're more
Yeah,
than welcome. We're
yeah, I
grateful
met.
that you're here.
Yeah, I met
Thank you. It's great.
Corine.
It's great to be here. I wanna make a comment on something that Regan said. I'm hearing a bit of a little static in the back. I don't know if that's coming from me or from someone else. It may be me.
I hear it too.
You hear it?
Let's see. Let's mute.
I thought just a little bit.
Yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
hear it too. And it happens sometimes when like Regan's on Wi-Fi and we get the
Okay.
third guest in here. So
Yeah,
Right.
I'm going to push.
maybe
Because
Let me push
I
mute for
wasn't
a
hearing
second.
it. Yeah, that's perfect. Because I wasn't hearing it when I was on with Natasha. But I want to make a comment on something that Regan said about helping persons to go to heaven and back. Oh, I hear it again for some reason. Probably it's me. I would tell you, Regan, that if I do that experience, I don't know if I will want to come back. I have always
Oh,
said that. If I go to heaven, I don't know if I will want to come back. Because I just feel
yeah,
that I would be so enthralled. I wouldn't want to leave. I would be like,
yeah,
what am I coming back here to? What? When, when everything is just so awesome over there. So I
yeah,
don't think I would want to take that chance. I just feel to myself, and I've always said it, if I have the experience of going to heaven, I don't think I'm going to want to come back.
yeah.
Really.
Here's the
I
thing,
would
though.
just stay there.
Yeah, when you're in that state on the other side and you see the bigger picture, even though you really like it over there, yourself knows that you plan to come through and go through the difficult things in your life, and you know that you wanted that. So even though people say, "Oh man, it was so good," and I just want to stay over here. It's so nice, but their
Yeah.
bigger self knows. It's like people in a marriage. Sometimes they're in a marriage and it gets so difficult with kids and everything. Sometimes they want to run away. They go, "No, this is too hard being a mom and a dad. It's too hard."
Yeah.
But their other self knows they love their family, and they stick there with it. Because
They stick
they
it.
know the
Yeah.
kids are going to be, yeah, the kids will be up teenagers on their own eventually. Of course, nowadays kids live with their families a lot longer. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
but yeah, there's something about knowing the why to things, why you chose your life, why you chose the difficulties, and then so you just kind of go, okay, I'm ready to go back and really jump into my mission. You know
Yeah.
and then they come
Yeah.
back and it's like, oh my god, I got so much to do now. you know
But that's why I never wanted to leave and I want to live a full life because I've always seen I have a purpose here.
Of
I
course.
have a big purpose here, even if it's putting a smile on somebody's face for the day. Like I was walking down a hallway and somebody walked by me and they were having a rough day. And I just said, I see rainbows coming into your life. And she go, oh, Natasha, I really needed that. Just that moment was worth me being alive.
Yeah. Yeah. I like how you mentioned about being worthy. We all question our worthiness and our value in
Mm-hmm.
everything. We go through it at different times. It could be for a job, for a relationship. And I will give you one instance that came to mind in terms of questioning my worthiness. And at the time, I didn't think it was my worthiness or me questioning. I was involved in a relationship for 20 something years. And I remember lying next to my spouse. We're not married. We were not married, still not. I'm no longer with him. And I remember lying next to him. And I said to him something like, I can't believe, it's like I always used to think that why he chose me. There are so many other pretty girls, there are so many other persons, women around. And I felt, to be selected. Now, at the time while I'm saying this, my head is resting on his chest, but I am feeling, because I'm very intuitive, just from his reaction, the energy I get from him, I knew something was wrong. Just from when I said it, I knew it, but I couldn't pick up what it was. He had a little
Mm-hmm.
smirk or a smile. I think it was years later I realized that I didn't love myself. Now, a lot of us tell ourselves, I love myself. Of course, I love myself, but I didn't. What I was really saying in that moment on his chest, lying down in that bed, was I didn't love myself, and I love you more, and I didn't think that I was worthy of being selected for somebody to pick me to be in a relationship with. That is when you come to that realization, that is a heart-wrenching thing to accept, that you're actually telling a man, somebody else. In my mind at the time, it wasn't resonating like that. It took me some years later to realize that is what it was. And I was actually in a narcissistic relationship, that I didn't feel worthy to be loved or to be selected by someone, that there are many other girls. And I still, even when guys come at me now, because of course I'm single, I might even suggest, there are so many other women, not because necessarily that I feel unworthy, but I think it is more about giving them the choice to make sure that when you get into something with me, because I am loyal, I don't go outside, I don't do those things, that you make sure that you are in this for real. This is to stick with. This is not to allow you to be skipping and hopping with everybody else. It's not a matter of my worthiness at this point, because I've learned my lesson. I've realized, why shouldn't I be selected? What? There's nothing wrong with me, and there are a lot of people that are attracted to me, but they are not evolved. If you're going the path of spirituality on that journey, they are not evolved. They are not there yet, and so they have a difficult time with me. Some of the words that they use is that I'm intimidating. I intimidate them. Now that translates to me that you are just not at the level, and this is not to put anyone down. You are not at the level to be able to understand or to on the same wavelength with me. You are not there yet, and that's okay. That's okay. I am not going to spend the time to wait for you. I am not going to spend the time to bring you up to me. I want to attract the right people that, it comes like this image I saw, a caterpillar and a butterfly. I speak butterfly. You speak caterpillar. I can't, I
I like that.
can't, I can't speak caterpillar. I could only speak butterfly. So we are speaking two different languages. So if you're still a caterpillar crawling on the ground, I can't help you. And I can't wait till you decide, if you feel like it, to
Become the
evolve,
butterfly.
right? And get some wings. I don't have that time. Okay? So I have to find other butterflies who speaks butterfly language. So when they find that I am intimidating or I feel I'm all that, I'm like, yeah, I am all that. And if you find I'm intimidating, because they would say, Corine, can you relax, chill, change this about yourself? I'm like, hold on, what are you really saying? Why should I do that? So that I could be comfortable. That's what they say. I'm like, excuse you, excuse you. I must
Making
change
me
to make
uncomfortable doesn't make
you.
you comfortable.
I must make myself uncomfortable for you to be comfortable. I did that. I did that. That is how I ended up in the narcissistic relationship for 27 years. I ended up being a pleaser and helping and being everything to everybody else at the expense of myself. So now that I have gone on my spiritual journey, I and have grown and evolved, and I'm still evolving because it's a never-ending process. It never stops.
Exactly.
I am not going back to crawl on the ground. I am not. I am not becoming a caterpillar. I can't go back. Once you've evolved, you can't go back. That is just what it is. And I'm not going to compromise my standards for anybody. I don't care how pretty and juicy the man look, Regan. I don't care how much money these things will not. These things, we talk about attachment. You all mentioned attachment. These things never mattered to me. I tell people I grew up, my mother is a single parent. I knew my father, of course, but my mother exposed me to a lot of things growing up as a child. I was never in want. I got the best of everything. I traveled. So when I met guys, or like my ex at the time, he never traveled. He was like, how come? I travel. I had a passport from the time I was born. you know. So, you know,
Mhm.
a US visa and all these things. I mean, these things are natural to me, traveling, going wherever. So it was like, and when I realized, Natasha, it was jealousy. At the time, I did not
Mhm.
know it because I am not a jealous person. I'm not going to be in your presence and be like, oh, I want what Natasha had. I want what Regan had. No, what you have is what you have. I have what I have. Yes, I could learn from you. We learn from each other. But hey, why would I want to take what is yours?
Exactly. For me, a lot of times, like for me, my goal is to be like doing the show, but having being able to I can see myself standing in front of thousands of people,
Of course.
and what I see when somebody else is doing that, I say, can I step into that energy field and walk with you? It's
Right.
not about being jealous of that person. It's just,
No.
can I pick up on that energy field, or I call in a path that is of like that, so
Yes.
that I can walk my evolution and what I am to do with that. And it's been
If that's for
amazing
you.
when,
If
yeah,
that's for
exactly.
you. Because if
Exactly.
it's not for you, it's not for you. There are things that I see
Exactly.
people and I'm like, wow. But I don't say I would like to do that. I'm like, I am so happy for you. I love when people grow and develop and they become better than me. I am not
Mhm.
jealous of you because you become better than me. I am happy for you. I like to sit in the back and just watch, because I pick up people's energies,
Mhm.
and so I have to be very careful in terms of crowd and people, and it becomes
A lot of people are in your shoes.
yeah, it's too much. It's too much. At one point, I thought I was an extrovert because I have no problem talking. I'm a bold person. I'm very confident about myself, and I thought I was an extrovert. But I realized over the years, and as I went through my journey, I'm an introvert. I don't like crowds. I will do what I have to do, like how I'm doing this, or in my business because I'm in public
Mhm.
relations. But as soon as I'm done, Natasha, I go right back. Peace,
I hear you.
quiet, stillness, meditation. That is how I live. I just ease off. And even if I'm in a crowd, after a few minutes, saying, hi, how you doing? What you up to? Whatever, have a drink. What you will just see me recede in the back and you wouldn't even know where I am. I will just fade out. You will not
I
even know. I would leave and you will not know. Yeah.
I can say that I'm not an extrovert or an introvert, but I can tell you that if I don't have my quiet time, then I have a problem. But yet for me,
That's right.
I'm the one that I like to, where I used to be so shy and quiet that I was very much an introvert, and then life decided to say, "It's time for you to be you." And I was like, "Hey, I'm along for that ride. Thank you. I'm
That's
grateful."
right.
Yes,
I
yes,
think
yes,
what
yes.
I
So
think what
so let's
happened
talk a little bit. Now you said that you're with public relate.
relations,
Can you
yes,
speak a
and
little bit more?
communication.
Yes.
Well, I lived in Jamaica for 21 years, and so most of my work experience is in Jamaica. I recently came back home to Trinidad and Tobago, where I am now, in 2017. So I used to be in the media. I used to write for the Jamaica Gleaner, which is a major newspaper there. And I had a column there writing about publishing. I also help persons publish their books. I'm also an author, and I'm an award-winning author, and I speak. So I, before even this whole thing about online, I was already speaking online, virtual events, and
Mm-hmm.
speaking, traditionally face to face, doing workshops and training and things like that. And of course, I just have the passion. From since a teenager, I remember meeting a woman. She was actually my neighbor, and she was into public relations, and that was many, many years ago. You're talking 30 something, how much, 40, how much years ago, I would think, you know. And at the time it was new, but I just love the image that she had. She's pretty, I didn't know much about the area, but I knew it was a high profile type of job. And I just had this thing for it. Now, when life is such a funny thing. Sometimes you end up doing things or being involved or being carried in
Mm-hmm.
a particular way, and you don't know why. And when you sit down, you take the time, Natasha, and you sit down, you realize, hold on, I ended up, after my first degree, the first thing I did, I was attracted to a course called Public Relations Marketing and Advertising. And immediately after my degree, I went and did that course for 1 year. I realized after that everything that I did, I became an author. I I ended up with the media. I help people to publish books. All these things,
Wow.
speaking in public, you know, I ended up adding up to what I'm doing today. you
Cool,
know,
cool, cool. And
so
I want to apologize. I was texting Regan because he popped out, and I just wanted to make sure that he was okay and things were okay. So
that's
that's why I was
fine.
looking away for a minute. I just wanted to make sure that
That's okay.
so I wanted to make that clear that I wasn't trying to ignore you. No, but it's amazing how, like for
I thought you
me,
were actually.
technology.
I thought you were taking notes. Actually, I thought you were taking notes.
Oh, that you know, like for me, technology has not been a grace, has not been easygoing, has not been something, and I'm really flipping that around. And if you notice, I'm saying has been. Now I'm in my husband's even going, boy, Natasha, you've not been able to do this. Now you can. So can you help me do this? And I'm like going, sure, I can try. So it's nice to find
Yeah,
somebody who can manage a lot of the navigation of this.
I
And
love it. I love technology. I have been on it from since 2003. My master's was actually the thesis that I did was actually about setting up virtual assistants and things like that, getting people to see the future, but they were not there yet at all. And we're talking 20 something years ago. I did
mhm.
my research paper on that, and there was limited to nil information for me to work with. So it was a challenge 20 something years. Feels, with the pandemic that, ooh, online is such a new thing. It's not.
Yes.
It has been around ages. People have been working from home for ages and you never recognized it. And now all of a sudden, the things have turned upside down. Where if you were working in an office, you're like, what? You work in an office? I work from home.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
this is crazy. This is crazy. But
It
that's
is
that's what it is.
interesting, the flow, the ebb and flow of life, isn't it? It's just
Interesting.
amazing, the ebb and flow. I'm
Interesting.
just amazed. So, what brought you to the U.S.?
I am not in the US. I'm in the Caribbean. You're talking to me in Trinidad and
Oh,
Tobago. I am
okay.
in the
So, for some
Caribbean.
reason, I apologize because I did not get I didn't get until somebody lets me in on them. I do not tap into their knowings. That's against.
I am in the Caribbean. I've always been in the Caribbean. I've been to the US on speaking engagements or attending like conferences or something or another, always some sort of training or speaking or something. But
Mhm.
I live in the Caribbean. I was in Jamaica for 21 years and then I came back home in 2017 in Trinidad and Tobago. So I'm an island girl.
You are an island girl. Well, welcome, and I apologize. I do
That's
apologize.
all
I
right.
am intuitive. It's just sometimes, when you don't get permission, it's like I like to ask questions because then
Yeah,
people don't get a chance to have their story. They don't get a chance to talk, and if I take that away from them, then where's the relationship? So
that's
with
right.
that I do apologize because it's something that we didn't get a chance to talk before we came on, really,
That's all
besides
right.
just a little blurb of
That's all
just
right.
welcome, this is what we're gonna do, and that kind of thing. And I'm
That's
sad
okay.
that Regan popped out. When he's on mobile data, that a lot of times we get that popping that
That's
goes on.
okay. Yeah, that's
And
okay. And the static isn't there anymore. You notice? I'm not hearing that
yeah,
crackling
because
sound.
Regan left,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah. I'm not
so when
hearing.
he went on mute, he didn't do that. So
Yeah,
it's just something that happens sometimes with technology, and
that's
I
okay.
just roll with it.
Roll with
It's
it. Roll with it. Yep. That's the beauty of life. That's the
yeah,
beauty of
yeah.
life.
Because I love, and people say this probably all the time. I love your accent. I love the
Oh
Caribbean
my
accent,
goodness. Thank you
the
so much.
Jamaican accent. It just
Yeah.
it rings. It just rings, and
Yeah.
it's a blessing to listen to.
Well, I
So
hear
with
I
that,
have a blended accent. I don't know what my accent is because I don't pay attention to it. I just speak, and people, even in my country here, they're like, "You've traveled," and they automatically think the US. And I'm like, "Yeah, I've traveled," and I just leave it like that. I don't explain where I've been, where I've lived. when I was in Jamaica, they picked up my accent. So no matter where I go, even when I was in Jamaica, they picked up my accent. I'm back home in Trinidad, they pick up an accent. So it doesn't matter where I go, there is some sort of an accent. But I tell people, if you get me upset, then you will hear the Jamaican come out even more, I guess.
Exactly. Well, like I have a friend who lives over in England, and he can go from one region to another, and these are just little communities. And
That's
he'll say,
right.
and it could be a block away from each other, and he'll go, and then he'll just switch it out. And I'm
Switch.
just cracking
It's
up laughing because
automatic.
there's such a strong difference in dialect.
Yeah.
Just how you just pronounce a word. It's been amazing. And us in the US here are the same way.
That's right.
Californians speak different than the Northwest, even though we're on the West Coast.
That's
and then
right.
you take the West Coast to the East Coast, and
It's
there's
different.
no conversation about it being close together. It's like I was in a classroom with a teacher, because I work in an elementary school part-time now, and they were saying how A sounds like ah, or it has the schwa sound, and I'm like going, how would they be teaching this back in Texas?
I love the Texan accent. I love it.
This is what the word says, and we'll just go with it,
I love it. I love the Texan accent. I was in Texas, Houston, in 2017. Early in 2017, I had a speaking engagement. And let me tell you, Natasha, I met a cowboy. He had his gallon hat, the mustache, the long jacket, the boots. He stepped into the elevator and he tipped his hat and said, "Hey, good morning, ma'am." And I'm like, "Damn, this is it for me. This is it." I was like, "This is my life. I will never forget this experience." But he tipped his hat. I see this in the movies. So when I was there, I was like, "Oh my God, it's actually a guy with a gallon hat." Oh my God. The only thing missing for me was going to one of those rodeos and actually seeing those guys in jeans riding those horses. That's the only thing I miss. But don't worry. Don't you worry, Natasha. I'm going to make it happen.
You're going to make it happen. So you have these speaking engagements. What do you like to speak about?
Toxic relationships, because I've been there. I love it. Toxic relationships, especially for women and for men, but especially for women, because a lot of us, just like how I went through, I see a lot of women in relationships and they don't realize they're being engulfed, and they allow themselves because they feel it's love and they're looking for love and somebody to complete them, as opposed to realize you need to complete yourself. You need to work on you, be whole, and to find somebody who is whole too, not 50-50. So I don't use words. I used to use words like my significant other. Hell no, I'm not using that. My other half. Hell no, I'm not using that. Because what that is saying is that I need somebody else to complete me. So I don't have a significant other, and I will never call a man my significant, because you're not significant more than me. Okay, we are equal. You're not my other half. You're my partner.
I always pictured like the Greek columns, that you have two strong columns and it supports a nice roof. But if one is tipping over a little bit, your roof is going to fall over. If one's tipping over a little bit, it's going to tip over. You have to have yourself and the other to be able to support your life.
But what that is saying to Natasha is that when you talk about the tipping, you're putting more pressure on the other one to keep that roof, upright. You're putting more pressure, as opposed to you equally bringing something to the table. You're saying, no, I'm not going to help lift this thing and keep this up. I'm going to put the pressure on you to maintain it. No. It has to be reciprocal. It has to be equitable. You put 50, I put 50. You put 100, I put 100. You put 10, I put 10. If I don't like it, I get out, because I want somebody putting in the same into the relationship.
Now I know that for me, that I felt that whenever I wanted to leave my husband, something would stop me.
Of course.
And I had very low self-image through when I
Yeah.
met my ex-husband and my husband now. And my husband now had been drinking since he was age 12, 13. Now, I came from a non-drinking family, so I was very
Whoa.
naive to that whole process.
Mm-hmm.
He is now, as of next September, he'll be 10 years sober.
Thank
So he
God.
just celebrated his 9 years sober. And
Amen.
that's the reason why I was kept being married to him, because there's something about this growth that he has done in these 9 years that, like the other day, we were going to go down the same rabbit hole that we've gone through before, that why isn't this working? And it's all your fault. And da, 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 da,
Yeah.
and I just held up my hand and I said, I don't want to go there.
Not going there.
I love you. I don't want to go there.
Not going
And
there.
and when we went there, that hi Regan again, welcome. That once we started I started saying I don't want to go there. And
That's
then
right.
when I tried to interact, and he deals with depression a lot, and so with that he just kept going down the rabbit hole. And I just said, when he started naming me again, I left.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then when he quieted down, I met him on the couch, put my hand on his leg, just to have connection.
That's
He was
right.
still angry, and I said, okay. And he wasn't talking to me. I said, okay. And I got up and
Okay.
left, and I did my thing. But the thing that shows me that he is spiritually growing is that he went and played golf the next morning. He's a morning person. I'm not. So by the time he got back, I was getting out of bed. That he came up and gave me a kiss, and he says, I love you and thank you. Because of the fact that I didn't go down the rabbit hole with him again.
Don't follow them there.
Yes.
Don't follow them there. The energy, it makes no sense. If the energy is chaotic, why are you following that chaotic energy? I see it also.
Well, it's
like
a suction. It's like a whirlwind.
Yeah.
It pulls you in unless you can recognize it and walk away. Because we could be doing it to them. It's not about gender.
Yeah.
It's not about relationship. It is about saying, I don't want to go there. And so for me, when I'm feeling that way, and I tell him, honey, I'm staying quiet because I'm going there and I don't want to pull you in.
That's right. I'm going there. I'm in a twister mode. Stay away
I'm
from
twisting
me.
the bowl and I don't want to pull it in. So I'm going to politely say, I'm having you sit there and I'll sit here.
And you said something significant there. In relationships, partners need to recognize these things in their respective partners. Mm-hmm. They must be so in tune that you don't even have to tell them, I am in twister mode. They pick that up intuitively and they know what they need to do. Give you the space, create an environment for you to twist, move things out of the way. If kids are involved, you say, hey, let's give mom some space today. Let's bring her favorite, whatever, cheer her up, whatever it is. Not overdo it too much, because of course we as women will pick up, oh, what are you doing? Next thing you know, we go into more twister mode. Mm-hmm. But, you do the things. I shouldn't have to tell you that I'm going through something. He shouldn't have to tell me. Intuitively, I will pick that up and know what I need to do. But it comes back to what I'm saying, being evolved. If I am in butterfly and you're in caterpillar, you are not going to recognize the things that butterflies do.
Mm-hmm. But the thing is, so many of us are in those relationships, and it's okay to be in a relationship where your caterpillar is almost ready to become the butterfly, because we can help them. Because I know for me that me being me and me staying me, doing those things like I did the other day, has evolved my husband into being his butterfly.
Right.
Because of the fact that if he wouldn't have evolved becoming sober in all those places, then he wouldn't have become his butterfly. And I was willing to navigate with him. Yeah. That's just part of me. But was many years that I loved my house more than my husband, to be honest with you, because of his depths of alcoholism. But yet there was a reason why every time I was going to leave him, something happened to help me stay. And now that morning when he came to me was like, this is why. This is why.
Yeah. There is, that reminds me of somebody that I am I have in my heart. Let me say that. I encountered someone and I have in my heart. And every time I feel to cut the person off, I'm like, I feel it in my spirit, don't. I've done it many times, come back. And I'm like, no, I know this is what has happened and it's toxic and I'm not going to go against my intuition because I know this. I've encountered these things and I'm not going to make excuses anymore for people's treatment of me because this
Mm-hmm.
is what I did before. So I'm seeing things for what it is and not making the excuses. And it's because of that, last night or this morning, I think it was, I decided I'm cutting this off. If if it is that it is meant to be, that this person has to be in my life, whether friend, partner, whatever it is meant to be, it will become that at the right time. But
Mm-hmm.
I am not going to influence it. I'm not going to stick around waiting. I'm not, I will continue to pray for the individual, that they will evolve because I can pick up trauma issues just the way how the person speaks, their behavior. I pick up
Mm-hmm.
control. I pick up a lot of anger. And I don't need that in my life. I don't want
Mm-hmm.
to be having a conversation with anyone and it's an argument. I don't want that energy around me because I am not like that. So I
Mm-hmm.
have to let that go and allow it to do what it needs to do. If it recognizes that it needs to do work, if it recognizes that the person that I am deserves better and that they too should
Mm-hmm.
see that and know that they need to do some work. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, I know for me, like when I was going to leave my ex-husband, I I knew that I had to prove to myself
Yeah.
that it was meant to end. And so the way that I did it is I gave a timeline, like for let's say 3 weeks or 6 weeks,
Yeah.
that if I shifted me, if I did what I needed to do, come across the line just a little bit to give love,
Mm-hmm.
grace, conversation. Like if I
Mm-hmm.
was one that was walked on regularly, if I was starting to say, "Hey, I don't appreciate you you talking to me that way,"
Yeah. Yeah.
doing those things to shift up the relationship, and that
Yeah.
relationship still didn't shift, which it
Yeah.
didn't, then it was time to split it. Now, I
Yeah.
did that with my husband now, and he stepped up because he was willing to
Ah.
interact with that conversation, even though
Yeah.
he was still a caterpillar, but he was willing to interact and start claiming the tree to become the butterfly. Does that make
I
sense?
love that.
And Regan,
And
you
that
have
is
something to say
of
about
course
this?
it makes sense.
Yeah, Regan, you've been in and out of relationships quite a bit.
Yeah, and I have to say I've usually been, if I'm honest with myself, the women that God put me with where I was the like you guys had the alcoholic husband and and Corinne, the problems that you had where you want to bring them up. It was because of these relationships I've had that I've gotten to where I am today because they were patient with me and they helped me. They were, I would always say most of them were more um, their ability to love was greater than mine, and I was a little bit brain dead like a lot of guys, and it took me being with these strong women that will, showed me my faults.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll tell you one thing for guys out there or women who have husbands that were like me that were a little bit clueless at one point. Um, the way that you try to help us change is makes a whole world of difference. Like if someone is just running you down, like would run me down, or whatever this way, I would just block. But when
Mhm.
they came to me lovingly and said, "Hey, I noticed you kind of have this problem. What do you think you could do about it? Can you do something to make it better so you're not that way?" Boy, I couldn't say anything but yes. You know, and so um, my second ex, who I'm really close to still, I give her every time I see her, I give her credit for waking me up. I mean, I'm so thankful to her for
Yeah.
helping guide me to that point to where, as a man, I could get through, uh, a lot of these illusions of what a man's really supposed to be. You
Mhm.
know, like see, a lot of us men we're confused because we grow up in society, and society makes us feel that we have to have an answer for everything. That
Yes.
we makes us feel that we have to always be the strong one. It makes us feel that we can't be emotional, or we have to hide our
Vulnerable.
tears.
Yes.
Yeah,
I don't like
and
that. Yeah, you're
But
absolutely right.
that's the thing though, is that that's where I knew, like, about 5-10 years ago, that it was time for us women to care for our men, to show them that that being vulnerable was a strength.
Of course.
And that part of it, and I've given that idea to many different women and men, that it's about giving care, and it doesn't mean being like a wimp about things and standing down, but that's the thing, is that there's many times where my husband is mirroring something that I need to work on,
Mhm.
and that's where us women need to be vulnerable enough to hear that it's a breath in, breath out,
Yeah.
yeah.
and go ahead,
Here's a
Regan.
technique I learned when I was in hypnotherapy school, and as being a therapist that I share with my clients. And it's, for instance, it was a client. The husband was a workaholic, and he loved his wife and daughter, but he was always working, never spending time with them. And they knew that just wasn't right. And in his mind, he thought he's doing the right thing because he's out there working, providing, and sacrificing.
He's the
not being
old
able
man
to
style. Yes.
Yeah. So here's the way that she put it to him that helped him make a change. She got with him one night. She says, "Sweetheart, let's just lay down in bed together." So they laid down, and she put her hand on the elbow or something. He says, my daughter and I, we're talking to her, we love you so much, and we hardly ever see you. You're working so hard, and we really need more attention and love and that. What's your solution, sweetheart? Isn't that great? So it was so non-threatening.
Yes.
It's like they were able to say their feelings, but they didn't just like, "Oh, you're always working, you never spending time with us, we're going to leave you." And because the husband loved her, and he finally went, "Wow, okay." And then they were able to talk and work on things, so that he spent more time with the family.
Yeah.
And that's that part of communication and being willing to say it. But I know for me, every time, like the conversation I was saying about putting my hand up and saying I don't want to go there.
Yeah.
First thing I did was I had to check what was my intention. Was this going to be about a fight? Was this about calling him wrong? Or was it I was going to help us not go down the rabbit hole?
Yeah.
So I had to check in with my intention.
And sometimes you need to take a step back. Not because the situation is facing you right now. Sometimes you need to take a day, 2 days, probably even a week before you actually respond. To get clarity, to bring perspective, to pray about it. Just take a step back to consider the other person's feelings, a lot of other things that may be going on that you're not seeing, because in chaos you cannot make an informed decision. That immediate response, or reaction, I should say, because it's more reaction than a response. You're just reacting, but we have to take the time to step back and put things in perspective before we could approach the person with the correct words, the correct tone, the correct timing, as opposed to just lashing out or just saying what comes to mind.
Yeah, because it's many times it's not what we're saying, it's the intention we're saying behind it, which changes the tone, which can change how people receive it. And it's just, there's so much interwovenness in this whole thing. And many of us haven't been taught to do better, to know better.
Of course not.
It's like me in the elementary school. It's like these kids are just so, physical. Well, these kindergartners, they haven't been in any elementary or in any preschools or anything. So they've only learned what their family is doing. And you're thinking, oh my gosh, is this what family has been? Physical interaction, voice, tones. It's like, ouch.
But we ourselves don't know it. And if you think about relationships and interrelationships and interaction, you, Natasha, was brought up a different way to how I was brought up. Regan was brought up a different way. And if we were to come together, we are bringing 3 different perspectives, orientation, socialization, background, societal influence, media influence, school influence into the whole thing. So can you imagine somebody trying to be together into a relationship or partnership? It's all of that coming together. You're talking a twister. You're picking up everything that's coming in your way there. That's a twister. And you you have to have that twister control. There's nothing wrong with having the twister, but when you come together, it's to have that twister control, that it doesn't pick up everything that comes in its way. It's like, hey, we're twisting together, and we're going this way together, and we're doing this together, and we're not going to take up the house and the cows and the whatever in the process. We're just having fun here. So there's nothing wrong with twisting probably together, but it's an organized harmonic twist with a rhythm and a rhyme, together, as opposed to a mad sort of chaotic sort of twist.
Yes. And I know that for like one of our listeners that's listening right now, that, and this is a scenario that's gone on, is that many of us start in a relationship where we're kind of more alike. Okay. Let's just say two people that were very lost in their lives, and they found each other when they were lost. Well, then one person starts finding themselves, but then that other person doesn't quite know how to find themselves because of habits or that kind of thing, but one person makes a different decision about finding themselves. And so then they're like, well, what do I stay with this relationship or not? And that's a personal choice. That's where you have to go into that personal because I know for me, when I was at that breaking point of should I leave my husband, I talked to the universe and I said, I can't separate my family. I do. This is something that it goes against everything that I know. So if you can't help me, then I'm going to make a decision, but you got to show me. Well, 3 weeks later, almost to the day, he got pulled over and got his DWI, he was drinking and driving.
Yeah.
And he went into deferred and went into AA, and he became this path. But he himself said that he knew that this was something that was magical, that this was something like Regan and I were talking about last week, about how he had this moment where he called out that I needed help. Well, I called out for us as a relationship. And my husband told me after I talked about our conversation, Regan, he said, you know what? That day that you were at the dentist and I walked home from the police station, I walked outside and I looked up and I knew that God was talking to me and said it was time for me to get healthy.
Oh, yeah.
What is this the kind of man? Is this the man I want to be? Is this the man I want to be? And he was saying that at that time. I wasn't home yet, but
Natasha, you're saying something really significant there, because it's a question only the individual can answer. You cannot answer it for the person. You know what you want, but you cannot answer it for that person. And that individual, and us too, we have to know what we want. And if that other person matters that much to us, the value they bring to our lives, if it's worth taking that other little step and that other little step. What are we sacrificing? Okay, what are we sacrificing to get something else outside? You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So the universe, God, source, whatever people want to call it, or him or her, will do the necessary things to make things happen. And of course, your prayer went up and, things happen. But it also had to move him and his heart. In order for him to come to the realization, what am I willing to risk here? Is this the person I want to be? It faces them. It comes face on. And there's always something in our lives that makes us see ourselves in that mirror.
Yes,
exactly. Do we like it? Do we like it? A lot of us don't like to see ourselves in the mirror. There are many times I do mirror work and I stand in front of that mirror and I talk to myself. It's frightening as hell, but I don't.
That is, isn't it?
Listen to me, it's frightening as hell. I mean, we normally go in the mirror, you brush your teeth, you use the bathroom, you shift. But I'm not talking about those quick moments. I'm talking about literally being in front of the mirror. You're not moving. You're talking to yourself and you're looking deep into your eyes. You actually do that and you're talking. It's the most frightening thing. One time I did it, I ran out of the room with my heart pumping. And I was like, Corine, what are you doing? Why are you running from yourself? Why are you running from yourself? And I said,
Mhm.
hell no. I went back in there and I said, you are not going to frighten me. Can you imagine I'm running from myself? I'm running from myself.
When we are in that midst of looking deep, there's things that we don't like to see. Like when I put up my hand with my husband, the first thing I did was I looked back and said, there's a mirror right here. What can I do different? What am I doing? What is this here
Yes.
to teach me? I do a lot of mirror work. My dad, when I was very
Yes.
young, said, stand in the mirror and say, I love you.
Okay.
Look in the
And
mirror and say that you love yourself.
hold on, Natasha. And what do you hear back? You're lying. That's a
No,
lie.
well, I
You're
didn't
tell-
say it. It wasn't like it was. A lot of
no,
people
you
hear
hear
that,
a
but for
voice.
me, I couldn't
Yes.
say it. I
Yes.
just couldn't say it.
Couldn't say it.
I
Sometimes
couldn't
you
say
say,
it.
and you love yourself, and you hear the voice say, please, who you think you're fooling? You're lying to yourself. You hear the voice come back, and you have to talk. You have to talk. But you had the point of, you couldn't even say it. The words couldn't come out your mouth.
Nope.
It's
No, I was
amazing.
very low when
Mirror work is
I
the
was young.
best.
No.
Mirror work is the best. The best.
It
Yeah.
is, and that's what I so am purposeful with, is helping people do that shadow work, that inner work of just, why am I here? Why do I feel so guilty about this? Why do I feel shame about this? I love doing that kind of work. It just, I do it with myself, and then it's just I love to support people who are willing to do that. And sadly, on that note, we would love to have you back, my dear. That it
Oh,
is.
this is awesome. An hour is gone. Oh my god.
Yeah.
It's already
goes
gone.
fast.
Like I told you in the email, it goes fast.
This is
So-
awesome.
And
This is
Regan, I'm
awesome.
sorry
Thank
that
you
you
so
had
much.
a situation where you weren't able to be such interactive that you normally are, because I love hearing your stories, Regan.
Oh, I enjoyed listening to the women's perspective on a lot of things. It helps. It's still, it
Thank
really,
you,
you know,
Regan.
yeah, it's like, we're all soul, so we're the same that way. But when we choose to come down and be male or female, we take on different characteristics so we're not all the same. So the more I understand women, the more evolved I feel,
Ah,
Mm-hmm.
nice. And thank you so
Yeah,
much
because
for sharing, Regan. Thank you so much,
it's the
because
same
it
for us
brings a
women.
perspective. Yeah, yeah. It brought a perspective for me, for me, and I really appreciate that. Because like what in the
Yeah,
books in Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, different language again, a woman will say something, a man hears it differently. A man says something, a woman hears it differently.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
yeah. And Corinne, why don't you tell the audience now, because we want to give you a plug for your show
Oh,
also,
sure.
and
Well, you
tell
can see
people
my
when you're
website.
on.
Everything is at
Yeah.
my website. Once you go to my website, you see it on the screen, lafontandassociates.com. It's all one word, it's my name and associates.com. Once you go there,
Okay.
all my social links are there. You can connect with me on Facebook, Twitter. I don't have Instagram. I do, but I don't have it as a link there. But you can check me on Facebook, Twitter, and I also have my podcast there. I have a podcast, Between the Lines. If anybody wants to get on my show, Regan, you're supposed to be coming up on my show soon. So persons can get on my podcast. You can go there, book a time. I offer 30 minutes for discussion, etc. And similar to this, very interactive. So I welcome everyone. Yeah.
Thank
Good.
you. I'll add
What-
that to the where to
The description.
the description.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you so
Natasha,
much.
tell everybody again, if they want to hear more Natasha, how do they get hold of you?
They can get a hold of me at angeliclarifications.com, and I love doing Corine, that a lot of the work that talk about. This is where I love to bring forth just strength, that inner vulnerability that is a strength for people, to helping them. And I love to do meditations. There's many meditations I do to help somebody find that part of them that was left behind. Or I see a lot of things in past lives, and I think yesterday was a past life, or this morning was a past life. So I see a lot of times where in our childhood that things were triggered, that adds on to a dilemma that we go through in our lives,
yes.
these stories that we go through, and there's just these witnesses that we do with ourselves, and I love to help somebody do that. And right now I'm doing a special with my hour sessions where it's $80 for an hour until the end of January.
Yeah.
And so with that as we go forward and as we do things, that I love to support people. So you can reach me at angelicclarifications.com, or you can email me at natasha@angelicclarifications.com. And Regan, how do people get a hold of you?
Yeah, just like Corine said, just point to it's on the screen there. Visit the afterlife.com. And now, I also do regular therapy with some really great modalities that can be done online just as easily as being there in person. Like hypnosis can be done online, which people don't realize. EFT, which is emotional freedom technique, helps you with fears, phobias, anxieties. Something everybody should know how to do. It can be self-administered, works really fast. But I work with a lot of women that have post-traumatic stress issues from
Yes.
some sort of violence that they've gone through, but also fears and phobias. There's techniques right now that are so amazing that you can have a fear or phobia that's pretty severe, and usually in one session, it's gone, doesn't come back again. We're learning how to manipulate the energies in our bodies more now, more than ever. And, I'd love to help people that way. So if they see this, you get a hold of me, visit the afterlife for regular therapy, or if you want to go to heaven and back, and it's an amazing thing. It's a 4, 5, 6, sometimes 7-hour process where you actually experience like a near-death experience without the death part, as I always tell people. And you can I could go on for half an hour about all the things that you'd benefit from that. And you get the why to everything, why you were born, what your mission is, what you hope to learn in this life, and why certain people are in your life that you have such a difficult time with. You can actually talk to the soul part of themselves and work it out on the other side.
Yeah.
So without all of the emotion, without all of the jealousy, anger, greed, and all that, because it doesn't exist on the other side. Only pure spirit and love. Yeah. So anyway, that's great. And Corinne, I like the way you're doing your podcast. Very professional. The way you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. No. Because I've done a lot of them, and yours is one of the better ones to help people prepare.
Thank
that
you.
way. So, yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I've been getting really good reviews. People are interactive. I don't focus on the stats. My show is about helping persons to get their voice out and to really have to create an experience. That's what my brand is about. When persons come on my show, they always want to come back. It's like a repeat. They're always referring people to come on my show. They're like, get on Corine's show. It's just an experience, and they have no problem collaborating because they are the first set of people I reach out to when I'm doing conferences, virtual summits. So I reach out to my core tribe first before I go anywhere else. And I'm like, let's do this together. Let's do that. I'm having workshops. Would you like to speak on this? If I'm having a live session on Facebook, I reach out to my group and I'm like, let's have a discussion. So it is such a close-knit community. When they write their books, they come out to me. Corina, I want to come back on your show and promote the book. It's awesome.
It's because of the way that you're just so grace. You're just meant for grace.
Oh yeah.
And that grace is not always. Grace has a little bit of tough love in it sometimes. But but grace, you have grace, my dear. You just shine with it.
Yes, I've been told that. So I hear that, and you wouldn't believe by you telling me that. I felt that work right through my entire system. I felt it, and it felt, I don't know, it just felt really good to hear that, because I hear that all the time. Thank you.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yeah, you come across as a very beautiful soul, Corinne. Yeah, I can just feel like.
God. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's good. That's going to help you in everything you do.
And when you're an individual that walks with intention, it shows. It rings. It shows. And you do.
Thank you. And I'm quite aware of I don't believe people have a purpose. Your purpose may evolve, it may change, or you may have a purpose today, something tomorrow, next week. But I know my core purpose and I live that out. And one of them is to be able to impact people's lives. Anybody that's come into my space must never leave worse. They must always leave better than when they come.
That's mine too. That's my story. I'm always leaving my situation
Yes.
better than I found it. It's
Yes.
like,
Yes. And there is always, people always remember me because I leave you smiling, I leave you with joy. The whole situation, the scenario, the environment changes. You
Yes.
know, there are people, and if you really are open, I pick it up in people's spirit. It just goes with you. And I am so thankful for that gift. I am so thankful that I'm graced that way. Sometimes some people might see it as a burden, as a lot of responsibility. I don't feel it as such. It's just naturally in me. And I am extremely thankful. Other people will interpret it in a negative way. I am not focused on that. It just means you're not to be in my space. But eventually, I know you're watching from the sidelines, wanting to be in that space. So
I hear you.
eventually, yeah, eventually.
Well, sounds good. Well, we're going to end this show. And then
Yeah.
if you'd like to stick around for a few minutes afterwards, I would be grateful.
I will. Where am I going, Natasha? This is a pandemic.
I hear you. I hear you. I hear you. Welcome, everybody. And thank you very much for listening. And I do hope somewhere in this show you got some support in your life. Blessings to all. And we will see you next Monday at 4:00 on the either YouTube, Twitter, or my Facebook page, Natasha Venter, Angelic Clarifications. Blessings to all. Bye now.